Hey guys, Scott here again with a new beer dissection video. Today what we have is Bell's Two Hearted Ale. Okay. It's an American IPA. It's roughly, I think, 7% alcohol. This has been around, this style, or I should say this brand Bell's has been kind of a staple for several years now. It's readily available in most grocery stores. I don't recall if Bell's has been purchased by any of the big brands. I could be mistaken. Some of you, if you know that, can chime in underneath. Sometimes hard to keep track of all of them. Kudos to them if they are. It's such a widely distributed beer. Sometimes I think it is, kind of like Cigar City and Founders. But there's nothing wrong about it because a lot of times they still have the great brewers doing the same beer. But it's been around for a little bit. I feel these are one of the beers that kind of gets pushed to the side now. I find that like when something's very chic, like the latest version of a New England IPA from some brewery, and it's the hot item and everyone loves it. And then as time goes on, it starts falling down the pecking order of things. I feel beers like this and Cigar City's High Life are beers that fall into that category. They're very good. They're hot. At the time, and then as time goes on, people feel like it's like old news, and they just think that it's not good anymore. But I sometimes like to judge beers on if it's readily available. Like I've mentioned some of my local breweries here. They're phenomenal breweries, but sometimes they don't have the footprint. So you can't get a particular beer at my local breweries if I'm sitting out in California or in Illinois. But a brewery like this, like Bell's, you can get this probably in Los Angeles, and I got this here in, Long Island. So that's why sometimes I think it loses a little bit of the luster, but I still think it's still a very good quality beer. Now, I've had this beer before. I haven't had it in quite a while, which I try to do that with my videos, is try to come in on some of these beers I'm completely blind on. Others I've had, but I just don't recollect. Now, it says American IPA, perfect balance between brewed with Centennial. It said a perfect balanced American IPA. Didn't really say. I thought it said something else there. Brewed with 100% Centennial hops and bursting with aromas ranging from pine to grapefruit, which is what I would expect with a lot of those Pacific Northwest hops that I've talked about in other videos. So it's with Centennial. So again, if you're learning about beer and you're intrigued by it, if you got something like, and I've mentioned this before, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, which was strictly Cascade hops, you get an idea that you can appreciate what Cascade hops is all about. You get Bell's Two Hearted here, more Centennial, still a Pacific Northwest hop, still giving you some grapefruit, citrus, but you can get an idea what the Centennial hop does to beer as far as the bitterness. And most of them, then when they advertise one hop, it's usually used for bitterness, aroma, and flavor, not one or the other. Sometimes these guys will use a high alpha acid, which is the acids in the hops get broken down that produce the bitterness, and they'll use a real high one to bitter the beer and then use other ones to flavor and give aroma. And a lot of times that's because of utilization, things like that. I save that if I ever start doing some home brewing videos, I'll do that. So Bell's Two Hearted Ale, I think I said 7% by volume. This one is, again, it was bottled into life. So it's been canned about 3 to 4 months ago. Because I'm a little laid up, I had gotten some stuff dropped off at the house, so I haven't been able to analyze some of these. So this is still good. They're just a little bit on the higher end of where I would like, but 3-4 months, I'll take it for a mass-produced beer that's probably been shipped from across the country, okay? So again, like most things, especially IPAs, get those tulip glasses going, get something that can support the head, allow the hops to come up, whether it's a tulip, a snifter, or you've seen me use a more fatter style tulip glass, okay? So let's open this up. Bell's Two Hearted IPA. I don't know why there is looks like a trout. My son would know immediately what fish that is. On there, looks like a trout though. Okay, so it's Centennial hot. So let's crack this bad boy open. Okay, as I'm pouring it, I'll show you in a second. It almost looks like you got the orange, it's kind of pouring like a gold orange color. So what looks beautiful here is that thick, dense head at the top. Okay, my last couple of reviews, depending on when you're watching this, we've lost some of that head. It's a nice, white, frothy, sustainable head. It looks like it's going to sustain through this video. Orange, kind of colored, light amber, maybe a even light copper type of color. Pretty clear, little chill haze, but that's not really a fault, especially with these highly hop beers that have the polyphenols. And I don't believe this uses oats. They probably use like a two-row or Pilsner malt. So let's take a whiff of this. Yeah, so you get a subtle grapefruit. Not as much as some of my New England IPAs. A little bit. I get some of the pine needle. This I always get a little like that mandarin orange peel or orange zest type of smell to it, and even a light stone fruit, like kind of a little bit of a peach, from it. Probably some bready malt, light toast type of malt to it, but nice. And because of that head too, it's probably really emanating the hops, and that's why I really endorse glasses like this, or even with wider tops. But still, it smells pretty fresh. I don't see. Sometimes I want to mention something about some of these highly hop beers. This one's not as highly hopped as some New England IPAs. If it looks like mud or brown, there's a good chance that some of the particulate from the hop matter is oxidizing. It still may taste fine, but it doesn't look very appealing. Okay, so Bell's Two Hearted. Let's take a look at it, see if the flavor matches the way this thing looks, because it looks pretty nice. And again, this is a good staple beer. As I mentioned earlier, that you can get this beer pretty readily. That's why I find these beers great. Is that I may love my local places, or someone hands me a beer from somewhere else, but if I have this, Cigar City's Highlight used to be that beer for me. That I could get it anywhere at my local grocery store, so I know I would always can get a solid beer anytime I particularly want. I didn't have to wait for my local beer store to get the latest shipment of some craft brewery out in Montana or wherever it may be, or in the New England area. Okay, so let's taste this. Yeah, slight grapefruit, not like some of your New England IPAs, and you do definitely get that like orange zest. I like to say like an orange candy peel type of thing, because there is some. It's not very dry beer. It does have a decent amount of residual sweetness to it. So it has almost like even my lips here, kind of sticky lip thing, but it's pronounced bitterness. You kind of have that little full mouthfeel body. One thing it does have, it's a little bit of a negative, which I do get on some hoppier beers like IPAs, that vegetative type of taste, like almost like dying, like salad in your garbage can or something. You kind of get that on the aftertaste, a little bit of that veg, but it goes away pretty quickly. So you get hit with the mandarin, a little bit of the piney. I don't want to say resiny, but piney. Pine needle type of thing, and then grapefruit. And then as the aftertaste comes, that's where I kind of sometimes get that vegetative type of taste, but it's fleeting. It kind of hits me and then goes away. So that's what I get with this. It's about 7%. I mean, there's a little touch of warmth with this, but not too bad. I mean, usually 7%, I find maybe 7.5 is where I start getting a little bit of that alcoholic, tinge, like boozy kind of taste to it, like I was drinking a Belgian strong ale or a dark strong ale. But again, even though it has that kind of medium body, full body, it still drinks very nicely. It is lacing pretty nice here too in the glass. Nice, had the nice head retention. You know, I haven't imported anything new in there. Has that, you know, but nice color. Like I said, I think a very good everyday beer. I'm not going to say it's going to outperform a lot of your, Trillium, Farmed Hillstead, some of these big guys in the Northeast with the IPAs, or even some of my local guys here at Moriches or West Hampton and stuff like that you can get it fresh on the tap. But definitely something that, you have a hankering for an IPA, or your grocery store, you see it sitting there, bypass a lot of the other, commercial beers. I would grab this Bell's Two Hearted. It's really kind of been becoming like an iconic beer. I don't think it's listed in the BJCP, the Beer Judge Certification Program, as one of the styles but they only usually have 3 to 6 styles anywhere there. But this beer has been around for a while. Like I said, it's been quite a while that I've had it. Today's the first day in a bit, but I've had it in the past. But it's an American IPA. Now remember, your American IPAs a lot of times will be a little more fruitier, like this one is, and then your West Coast maybe have a little more piney, resiny type of thing to it. Have a little bit more bitterness. This definitely has more moderate to pronounced bitterness, but a lot more than if you say your New England IPAs would be. So again, you put it up in the camera, Bell's Two Hearted. By just sheer history of this beer and just the consistency on how it's made, I got to give a solid B+ beer. There's room for improvement, and there are other beers that are out there that are better. But you're going to get this consistently made well, like nearly every time, as long as it's been handled properly, and that bottle and canning dates within a few months or so. All right, guys. So again, Bell's Two Hearted Ale, American IPA. Bell's does make a good family of beers. So if you ever see Bell's, it's a good brand to stick with as far as like a larger mass-produced size without going as big as some of these, Budweisers of the world. Okay, so hopefully I just add another beer to your repertoire, and we'll take one more sip. Actually, one more thing with pairing with this, like many IPAs, you may want to avoid it with like spicy foods because it intensifies. IPA usually intensifies the hotness of spicy food. However, that may be a good thing for some of you, so you could try that out. Classic pairing, I've mentioned it before, blue cheeses, cheddar cheeses. I probably like a lot of Spanish dishes or Mexican dishes. Think of it like with the fruit and stuff like that, like salsas and stuff that would be in your tacos. That this would be great to complement a lot of Latin food, Spanish food, Mexican food, anything like that, Caribbean food, Jamaican rubbed chicken, things like that. I think this would go very well with, especially if the spiciness is like a little more subdued. All right, guys, have a great day until next video. See you on the other side of that. Take care.